this is an Elizabethan-style theater at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, Ashland, Oregon. Now it is used for Shakespearean performances, but 100 years ago it was used for Chautauqua. If any of you have heard of Chautauqua, please raise your hand. No one? Yes. Chautauqua is the 19th century version of TED. And it is an educational movement very popular in the United States from the late 19th to the early 20th century. And people gathered at tents like this stamp to attend various types of lectures, theatrical performances, and music. There were even daughter Chautauquas or independently organized Chautauqua events like TEDx. So the original Chautauqua venue at Ashland was lost, and but after the Chautauqua lost its popularity, the Chautauqua venue was converted into a theater, and now people in Ashland can still enjoy live performances in summer. I mentioned Chautauqua for two reasons. First, my job is to connect the past with the present. I am a Shakespearean, and my research field is the history of theater. And as a theater historian, I always say there is nothing new under the sun. You have come here to attend a TED event, a distinctly 21st century phenomenon, but we are the cultural descendants of the people who flock to Chautauqua. So learning from the past is helpful because we can avoid reinventing the wheel and make use of the cultural heritage left by our ancestors. Second, theater and education have something in common. They are both live entertainments aimed to make the audience develop their thinking further. Actually, as a teacher, I always think all the classrooms are the stage and all the teachers merely players. I attend about 100 theatrical performances a year, and most of the shows are delightful and painful at the same time. Yes, it is definitely similar to education. And as a teacher, I have three ideals in education. To nurture a good citizen, a good spectator, and a good consumer. These three characteristics represent three dimensions of the society: politics, art, and economy. So perhaps you may think these three civic virtues springs forth from the same fountain, but actually it is very hard for one person to achieve these three civic virtues simultaneously. I myself cannot achieve these three civic virtues at the same time. Perhaps the concept of being a good citizen is the easiest to understand. Nurturing politically conscious and free-thinking citizens has long been the major aim of education since the time of Socrates. However, being a good citizen has long been a privilege monopolized by a limited number of people, such as affluent people or men. And it is sometimes regarded as a vice for socially vulnerable people like women. For example, Nora, the heroine of Henrik Ibsen's A Doll's House, a 19th century theatrical masterpiece, in the play, she notices that she was intentionally kept obedient and uninformed, just like a doll, or a beautiful but senseless toy just because she was a woman. And she leaves her husband to be a good citizen. Even in Japan, in the conservative political climate, people are discouraged to be a good citizen because it is regarded as too rebellious or radical. However, A Doll's House teaches us that it is completely ethically fine to counter the socially accepted norms to be a good citizen. Many people think classical works like A Doll's House are conservative, but actually reading these classical masterpieces help us to think more freely and differently. Reading the classics makes you a badass. And being a good spectator means enjoying and appreciating artworks critically. And art is not created by its creators, but by an audience community. And art is inherently public, and it needs an audience community to appreciate it. Samuel Johnson, a famous 18th century writer, says of theater, quote, "The drama's laws, the drama's patrons give." So we are the patrons, so we make the law of the art. So if you are, being a good art, in order to be a good spectator, you need to, first you have to begin with simply enjoying artworks, but accumulating experiences is also essential. As a theater critic, I have to say that theater is a very dangerous form of art because it can elicit highly emotional and unified response from the audience via direct face-to-face interaction between performers and spectators. You won't believe how easily you can be tricked into believing that the horrible play you have seen was good. So theater is easily turned into a tool of propaganda. And it is very hard to stop clapping when all the people around you are clapping. But sometimes you have to stop clapping and question the actual value of the artwork you have seen. So don't be afraid to be critical. Criticism will make the world of art a more open-minded and healthier place. The last, being a good consumer. Yes, being a good consumer means buying products wisely and ethically. In the context of cultural products, being a good consumer is often confused with being a good spectator, but these two are very different concepts, and these two roles easily conflict with each other. And like other products, cultural products like art and entertainment could be produced under the unethical or unhealthy working conditions. For example, the Me Too movement has revealed that some artistically valuable films have been produced under the power of people like Harvey Weinstein, a man who sexually abused actresses. In Japan, there are several art and entertainment companies which were blamed for their hideous working condition. AKS, Johnny and Associates, and Yoshimoto Kogyo are all powerful Japanese entertainment companies, but they are heavily criticized because they exploited their affiliated members. It is reported that some of the affiliated members of these companies suffered from serious harassment by their companies. So, if your favorite artist create a high quality cultural product under a hideous working condition, is it ethically fine to buy it? As a good spectator, you cannot help admiring the artwork, but the money you pay will go right into the pocket of a bad man like Harvey Weinstein, and it may help maintain such criminal business practice. So perhaps you have to think and decide whether to buy it or not. And furthermore, what if your favorite artist's political opinion is completely different from yours and you think it's wrong? Well, I like Lynyrd Skynyrd. This is pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd. And this is a southern rock band from the United States. And they are definitely talented, but they are very politically controversial, because they often decorate their stage with the Confederation flag. And as you may know, the Confederation flag is often considered as racist in the United States. But they often use this flag as a symbol of the members' identity. So do I have to stop listening to Lynyrd Skynyrd? Or do I have to praise their talent but criticize their political representation? Well, if you would like to be a good citizen, good spectator, and a good consumer at the same time, perhaps it is likely that you might find yourself caught in a rock and hard place. You have to make a choice. So I don't tell my students which way to choose, but all I want for my students is that they will be free enough to think about and decide which virtue they have to take more seriously in the individual context. I would like to end my talk with my favorite Rolling Stones quote. Quote, "You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, well, you might find you get what you need." Well, the 3 civic virtues I mentioned are what you need, but when you want something, these 3 civic virtues may trouble you. But actually, these 3 civic virtues are what you need. So maybe being troubled in a conflict is sometimes virtuous and noble. So please don't afraid to be bothered by these 3 civic virtues. Get what you need. Thank you very much.